Says we're live. Let's see. Public. We'll start in 1 second, guys. There we go. All right, let's close this. Okay, we're here. What is up, everyone? Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Cedric. Cedric in the house. What's up, brother? Really good to have you here. Happy birthday, by the way. Recent birthday. Congratulations. Debbie, what's up, everyone? Thank you all for joining in. Today, I'm excited. It's October 23rd of 2021. I got this going on a few different platforms, so hopefully we can spark a discussion, and I'm always grateful to be here. So a few things about myself before I start, and I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about today. My name is Parham. I do these each and every single Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is something that I am very grateful to be able to do, and hopefully I can provide some support to those who may need it. And it's always about recovery, personal development, improvement, how we can heal, how we can move on in a positive way. So the message is always a message of hope, and that is one thing that I'm committed to doing on a weekly basis. And so I do have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I am a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. And I also coach high school basketball at Aliso, Niguel High School. Last night was officially our first practice of the season. We call it Midnight Madness. So we were in the basketball gym at midnight, which is something interesting to do when you're with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And in the recovery realm, I also am clean and sober. So I've been sober since June 13th of 2008. And that's something that helps me on a personal level, on a professional level. It's helped me kind of do a lot of interesting things in my life. And this talk is something that it's a program that I've created, I've implemented, and it's called the Crown of Champions. Okay. And it's something that I've actually implemented into the high school with the boys basketball team. I ran by a very brief version of this last night with the team. And on a weekly basis, I'm going to be following up on this. And the Crown of the Champion, in short, is something that allows student athletes to develop the characteristics and skills necessary to develop on and off the basketball court, like in life. And the beauty of this program is that it can be adapted, adjusted to me and you, and to anybody watching, to be able to help them in their lives, help you in your lives, to be able to achieve what it is you want to achieve. It's universal principles, universal. It's universal. It applies to all. What's up, Michael? Thank you for being here. So where this all got created from was a few years ago, I heard a story. And this story was, it was Tony Robbins talking with Sylvester Stallone. Okay. And Sylvester Stallone, as most of you know, is the main actor in the movie Rocky, was where he first kind of got his big shot. And it was the backstory of the movie Rocky. And I'm going to take a few minutes and share the backstory with you, because if you haven't heard it, it is a wonderful story of human perseverance, and also demonstrating that when you know the outcome you want in life, how anything and everything's possible. Okay, when you know your outcome. So Sylvester Stallone was born with actually his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. And to the point that oxygen stopped going to his brain for a little bit. And that's why he kind of has the droopy mouth and the slurred speech. And he has that talk to him that we all familiar with. And when he was a kid, upbringing, that kind of stuff, and just challenges in life, challenges with kids, he would go and escape into movies. So watching movies was his escape, kind of like a drug of choice, by the way. It was like a drug, but one with not too many consequences. He would go sit and watch these movies and just escape. And he would feel okay. And when he was a child, he decided that when I grow up in life, I want to make movies. I want to help other people have that outlet, that release, that relief that I get from movies. So he wanted to become an actor. Now, here's the thing. Actors, especially back then, they had a certain look to them. They talked a certain way. They walked a certain way. They took photos in a certain way. And Sylvester Stallone didn't check any of those boxes. So he would go to auditions, and in the auditions, the actor would say, sorry, you're not right for the part. You don't look the part. Your headshot's not right. You don't talk the way we need you to talk. And he would get rejected from an audition. And he was living in the East Coast at this time, Philly, New York, those areas. And he would go to audition after audition after audition, and he would continuously get rejected, to the point that the utilities in his house would go out, and it was so cold that he would have to go to the public library just to get some heat. He would have to pawn off, his spouse's jewelry just to be able to make ends meet. But he kept going on auditions because he knew his outcome. He knew that he wants to make movies in people's lives. So after getting rejected a lot of times, you want to know what he decided to do? He decided to say, you know what? I'm going to get up and I'm going to go across the country to Hollywood, where dreams are made, where movie stars are discovered. And he gets in a car and he grabs his dog, American Mastiff, big terrier, but Mastiff Bulldog, puts it in the car, and he drives across the country to California, to Hollywood. And now he's in Hollywood, and he's feeling the same experience. Audition, rejection. Audition, rejection. You don't talk the way we need you to talk. You don't look the way we need you to look. You don't act the way we need you to act. And to the point that he started to get really discouraged. He's living in this little studio apartment that is so small that he cannot close the door of the studio without sitting on the bed first. So his feet need to be up so he can close the door. And imagine what kind of a metaphor that is for life. And to the point that he's got about $100 in his pocket. This is around 1975, 74, 75. And he's got this beautiful dog that he loves as his best friend. And he's like, you know what? I don't think I can feed my dog. I can't take care of my dog. So he goes and stands outside of a liquor store. And he waits for people to walk by. And he literally just goes up to him and says, do you want to buy my dog from me? And he ends up selling his dog for something like $50. And it's like a really bad moment of like a bottom for him, psychological and emotional bottom for him. And he goes to the bar that night, and he's not really a drinker or anything like that, but he goes to the bar, and that night happens to be when Muhammad Ali was fighting this guy named Chuck Wepner. Okay, Muhammad Ali versus Chuck Wepner. Muhammad Ali at the time was the champion of all champions, larger than life, celebrity status. He could do no wrong. He was popular, right? He was rich, famous. He was likable. And he's fighting this guy named Chuck Wepner. It happened to be this kind of blue-collared, hardworking, just the general everyday man's man. And the fight was supposed to be for show only, right? It was just supposed to be there, dance a couple rounds with Ali, and he's supposed to knock you out. And that was going to be the end of it. And Sylvester Stallone is watching this in his bar, completely at his bottom, psychological and emotional. In this fight, this Chuck Wepner ends up going the distance, round after round, round after round, round after round with Muhammad Ali. He even knocks down Muhammad Ali one point during this fight. And everyone's like, what's going on here? Is this guy going to win? And at the end of the fight, Muhammad Ali does win the fight. So the champion stays the champion. But when Sylvester Stallone was watching this in that bar, he sees something in that. He sees himself in that. He sees this fighter that no matter what the odds are stacked against him, how he looks, how he talks, how he walks, all that kind of stuff, that he can fight with anybody. He has what it takes. He leaves that bar that night. He goes home and he starts writing and writing and writing what becomes the screenplay, right? The script of the movie Rocky. And they say he writes for, 20, 40 hours in a row consecutively. And he has all these pages, and that's the movie Rocky. So now he's got the script of a movie, and he goes to the same people in the industry, and he wants to sell this. So now he's going to studio saying, I have this script that I think is going to be a really good movie. Do you guys want to take a look at it? No, we don't want it. You're not a writer. You're an actor. What are you doing writing stuff? You don't have no training. What have you written before in the past? Rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. Eventually, there's two partners that see his book, and they see the script, and they say, you know what? I think this guy has something here. America loves the underdog. Maybe we can make something out of this. So they go through the negotiation process. They call in Sylvester Stallone. They say, hey, we want to buy your screenplay from you, your script from you. And he says, this is wonderful. This is great news. And we're willing to pay you. I'm not sure about the exact, but it's like $125,000 or $150,000 for the script. And mind you, this is 1975-ish. That time frame, that's a lot of money to someone who has no money in his pocket. Most people would have taken that and said, thank you. And he said, I only have one condition, Sylvester Stallone said, that I have to play the role of the character Rocky. I can play that role. And they say, what are you talking about? You've never played in a movie before. We're not going to give you the opportunity to invest all of our money and then have you play the actor. What if you mess it up? Sorry, the deal's off. And he's like, well, the script's not for sale. And he leaves, and they call him back because they thought it's like a negotiation plot. So they call him back. They say, you know what? We really want your script. We think you have something here. We are willing to pay you $250,000 for the script. $250,000 at the time, my friends, is life-changing money. He says, that's a wonderful deal. Thank you so much. However, my offer still stands. I have to play the main character of Rocky for this movie. And they say, we can't do that. We can't put all the risk up. You've never played anything. If this thing flops, we lose it all. And he says, well, I'm sorry. And they go and they say, you know what, let's just give a third and final offer to this guy. We want the script. We know this can be something. And they say, we'll give you $350,000. You give us the script, and we'll even allow you to sit there with us to be able to cast who could be the character for Rocky. I mean, they bring in heavy hitters like Robert Redford. They're throwing out names like that. And he's like, hey, I appreciate it. I need to play this role of the Rocky. This is me. I know I could play this role. He knew his outcome, by the way, my friends. That's why he's so confident. And they say, you know what? This guy's crazy. This guy just doesn't get it. He's never sold anything in his life, and he's negotiating this hard, and he's so committed to his stance. And they say, you know what? If this is what you want to do, we'll give you $35,000. So they went from $350,000 in 1975 to $35,000. They give him $35,000 for the script. They allow him to play Rocky. They say you can play Rocky. The budget for the movie was only like $1 million, and it was short. It was shot in a really short period of time. And they also give him some percentages, some points, some royalties of the movie that if, for whatever reason, it does well, then you also get some percentages on the back end of the profits. Well, for those of you who do not know, the movie Rocky ended up winning an Oscar that year. It turned into one of the largest movie dynasties, Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Balboa. The other ones after that weren't related to it. Sylvester Stallone's worth somewhere around $500 million as we speak. And it's not all from Rocky, but that was the foundation. But the best part of this story that I could share with you is when he got that $35,000 check, okay, when he had that $35,000 check and he went off, what would you think that he did with that money? Did he go buy a condo? Did he buy, a car? Did he buy some clothes? Answer is no. He went and stood outside of that liquor store and he waited. And he waited. And he waited for people to walk by until he finally saw the man that he sold his dog to walking his dog. He walks up to this man and says, hey, I need to buy my dog back from you. When I sold you my dog, I was really down and out. I came across some money right now. I need to buy my dog back. He's my best friend. The guy says, absolutely not. What do you mean? You sold me your dog? My kids, this is a part of our family now. I'm not going to sell you your dog back. He says, man, I'll give you whatever, $100 for this dog, twice the money I paid for it. The guy's like, no. He's like, I'll give you $1,000 for this dog. The guy says, no. Sylvester Stallone, from his own words, says that he spent $15,000 to buy his dog back. $15,000. And he also gave a small role to that man who sold the dog and bought the dog, a small role in the movie Rocky. So there's a scene he's coming down from Mickey's studio, and there's this little janitor going up, a little short guy with a limp. That's the person that bought and sold the dog. And the same dog that sat in Rocky's car, Sylvester Stallone's car, from New York when he drove cross country to Hollywood, is the same dog that's in Rocky 1, is the same dog that's in Rocky 2. The dog's name is Butt Kiss. And that's probably the coolest part of this whole story. But here's the thing why I share this before I get into what the crown of champions is and how that can actually help you. We all know Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, is kind of like a champion, right? He's a champion boxer. So what characteristic, this is what made me think of it. I heard that story. I was like, okay, what characteristics did he have in this story that allowed him to become this champion? And, I thought of the word champions. I thought of the acronyms and how we can use that. So I'm going to go through and share with you a little bit about what those acronyms look like. And again, if there's any comments, I know I'm talking a lot. For those of you who are new to this, watching this for the first time, or watch this on recording, feel free to share whatever you want, ask any questions you want. I'm pretty good with pausing what I'm doing and responding to those, and we'll just get right through it, okay? So, without further ado, we have the acronym CHAMPIONS. So I'm going to go through what each and every single one of those means, okay, as a part of this crown of champions. It's what you need to wear on a day-to-day basis if you're trying to achieve recovery, heal, and transform in your life. I don't care if this is for student athletes trying to develop skills that can help them on and off the basketball court. I don't care if this is for family members that are watching this because they have a loved one that's struggling with mental health and addictions. I don't care if this is for the individual who uses substances as a coping skill to help them in their life, and now it's really hurting them. All people, young, old, gay, straight, I don't care what it is, this talk is for you. This talk is for you. It applies to everybody. So the first acronym is the letters is C of champions, and it stands for commitment. Okay? Here's the definition of commitment if you've never heard me say it. Commitment is the motivation and the willingness to continue doing something after the initial excitement and enthusiasm has worn off. See, any fool in the world can be committed right off the bat. Anybody can be motivated right off the bat. It's easy to be motivated in the beginning of the race, right? You're just pumped, you're just going. But can you stay motivated? Can you stay willing after the initial excitement and enthusiasm is worn off? I'm telling you, most people can't. And that's why a champion in life, whether it's a champion in recovery, a champion in life, a champion in sports, has to start and end with commitment. It has to. You know, and in society, we have this commitment thing watered down, my friends. How many people are committed to their New Year's resolution goals? 2 weeks later, they're out. How many people are committed to stopping smoking? 2 weeks later, they're out. How many people are committed to each other? And then they part ways. How many people are committed to a certain job or a certain task and then they just fall off? And yeah, always finish. Thank you, Jim. Always finish the commitment. Not sometimes, always. And sometimes if you have a habit of self-sabotaging and not finishing the things you start with some easy things. Commit to some easy things and finish those. Because by finishing simple tasks, you start to develop the psychological and emotional muscles to finish the difficult tasks. Right? And I always say any fool in the world can start something. Not many people can finish what they start, let alone finish it with integrity and all the way through. So the next one is humility. So I think a true champion has to have, the H is humility. And there's a quote that I love, I believe in, I live by, and it says to never look down on anyone, including yourself, unless you're helping them get back up. So when you look down at a human being, you better not do it in a way that, hey, I'm here and they're there. I'm better than them. They're less than me. When you look down at a human being, your sole intention should be to grab them and lift them up. When you look down on yourself, the sole intention shouldn't be to bash yourself and hit yourself in the head. It should be to help yourself up. And for those of you in the recovery process watching this from addictions, just because you get a little time clean and sober, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget where you came from. You know, I would say my addiction, my active addiction, let's just call it like 5 to 7 years of just not doing that well. Okay, 5 to 7 years. It took me about 5 to 7 years of recovery time to actually look at the people around me that I know I impacted and say, I finally got to some even playing field. But there's people that 30 days later, 60 days later, 90 days later, they look at their family and say, I'm sober, I'm good. Leave me alone, I'm fine. What else do you want from me? And there's no humility in that. That's cocky, right? That's overconfident. Don't forget where you came from. And this also applies to people that succeed in the business world. You know, there's nothing worse than seeing someone succeed in business and all of a sudden living a lifestyle that it's like, you remember where you came from? People lose sight of that, man. It's like the greatest thing when you watch a fighter go in a ring all cocky and 4 seconds later they get knocked out. I enjoy that because that's it's a great metaphor for life. And yes, lift and motivate. That's another way. Jim has a very nice skill. I call it a skill of summarizing what I say in like a 5-minute block of me rambling in in 2 words. So yes, Jim, what I was trying to say by that really long-winded running sentence, just run-on sentence of blabble, was to lift and motivate other people. That's at least thank you for the simplicity. The next one we have here: all champions, they're accountable. They're accountable to others. They're accountable to others, and they have the sense of responsibility for their actions. And here's a great kind of way to look at this. It says you either make yourself accountable or you will be made accountable by your circumstances. So at least it gives us a choice. I love choices in life. So I have two choices, right? Two choices. I either make myself accountable, and some people might not like that. They don't like being accountable to others. They don't like having a schedule. They don't like, calling themselves out on when they go wrong. So either you make yourself accountable, and if you don't want to do that, that's okay. There's option 2. You will be made accountable by your circumstances. Can't have it both ways. Some of the most successful people I've met, man, they find ways to keep themselves accountable. And sometimes it could be serious accountability to yourself, but that one takes discipline. I don't recommend starting from there. I recommend starting from accountability with others, build the psychological and emotional muscles needed to learn how to become accountable to yourself. And by the way, accountable to self, risk, because sometimes when no one's watching, and we'll talk about that one, it's hard to be accountable to yourself when you're going through anxiety, depression, all the different mental health impairments that we talk about here on a weekly basis. So the M of champions talks about just the mental focus, the mind, right? And I like to use this phrase. I learned this from Jim Rohn, which is someone that taught me a lot about personal development. He passed away before my time, but I've listened to him in audiobooks, and he's taught me so much. Yeah, Jim, have a good day, man. Enjoy your movie. I know you're a 10:30 movie guy on Saturdays, man. Enjoy it, brother. So the M of mental focus, I like to think of this thing called the mental factory, okay? And I'll even change that metaphor a little bit to something I understand a little bit more. Let's say that we want to bake a cake, okay? Now, some people in life, let me simplify that. If I put the ingredients that are sour, that are bitter, that are just disgusting into a bowl, right? Do whatever I got to do with it, make it into the shape of a cake, put it inside the oven, and then I wait 15, 20 minutes, and I expect that cake to come out tasting like cake. That is a complete false and delusional line of thinking. I know you understand that, but I'm trying to give a very simple analogy for a reason. In order to have the cake be the way you need it to be, you need the proper ingredients. So what goes into the cake when it gets baked is just as important as what comes out of the cake, right? The end result. Now, there's a lot of human beings that don't take this analogy literally in life. See, my friends, it is impossible to allow your mind to get polluted with drama, toxicity, chaos, with negative thoughts, by negative places, and expect that all of a sudden your mind's going to produce positive results. It is impossible. It's delusional. But some people believe that. There is no way you can sit down and watch 12 hours of mindless reality TV of people going through drama and chaos, and 12 hours later expect yourself to be able to be clear-minded, to be able to think clearly, to be able to be creative. It's impossible. So the mental factory, instead of the oven, now let's think about a factory. Whatever goods and services the factory produces is only possible by what the factory is what's coming in. So when you understand this, I challenge you to guard and protect your mental factory. Guard and protect your mind. Guard and protect what comes inside. Because if you don't, garbage will come outside. You won't be able to optimize. And this also happens in the recovery world. So there's a sense of responsibility, accountability, responsibility here with what I allow myself to get exposed to. Yes, we can allow ourselves to. If there's a certain person in your life that's always chaos, always negative, always toxic, and every single time you sit with him or her, afterwards you leave and you say, I feel drained. My vitality sucked out of me. I'm pissed off. I'm angry. I'm annoyed. At some point in your life, you got to say, it's not about them anymore. It's about me. It's about what I allow my mind to be exposed to. Because guess what? You got choices. Either you allow that to continue to happen and deal with the consequences, or set a boundary and stop that from happening. This happens with loved ones in addiction all the time. How many times do I tell family members, set your boundaries? Set your boundaries. Okay, I'll do it. And then they don't set their boundaries. And one more time, the kid comes and runs havoc into their world. And the family's left there seriously, psychologically, emotionally paralyzed because of the wreckage. And they say it's because of them. No, it's not because of them. It's because you allowed them to infiltrate your mind again. See, we forget that we got choices in life, and we are free to choose. That's one cool thing about being a human. But we are not free from the consequences of those choices. Right? We are not free from the consequences of our choices. So the P of champions, we're halfway through, doing a really good job here. The P of champions is preparation. Okay, preparation. So again, I'm going through choices again. There's one of two choices. You either spend your life preparing or repairing. You choose. And what does that mean? So either I prepare for the next day, the week, the month, the year. I prepare for it. And if I don't, that's okay. You're free to choose. But you're not free from the consequences of those choices. So then for the next day, the week, the month, the year, guess what I'm doing? I need to go in repair mode and repair for the damages that get created because of my lack of preparation. You either prepare or you repair. And when do we prepare? When's the best time to repair? You've heard me say this. I know we got some new people watching this. Is the night before. The night before the day. Just take a few minutes, 10 minutes of your day and prepare what you need to do for the next day. Write it out. Write down 5 things you got to do for the next day. Because in the morning when you wake up, you already have a blueprint of what needs to happen that day at the minimum. And that's better than just waking up to our own devices saying, what do I got to do today? Because the moment you say, what do I have to do today? You've already lost that day. And you might not think that's the case, and you might get away with it once in a while. But over an extended period of time, you will lose that battle because we don't wake up every morning saying, I can't wait to take on the day. We wake up saying, I got to go do this again. Or I got to deal with this again. I got to handle this again. We lose sight of things in life, my friends. So, there was something in there too. It says the future belongs to those who prepare today. One of the parts of the story that I didn't share because I was trying to give a short summary version of it was when Sylvester Stallone was broke in New York and he didn't have any money, he would go to the public library. And when he would go to the public library to be able to sit down and deal with it, get some heat because he didn't have any utilities on in his house, he's like, well, I keep failing all these auditions that I'm doing. I keep failing and failing, but I want to make movies. So maybe I got to learn another skill. So he learned how to write a screenplay, how to write a play, how to write a script. He read books on how to playwright, how to write scripts. And he learned them and he learned them and he learned them and he learned them. He never used them until he watched that fight with Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. And he went back to his room and he started writing the script, the original script of the movie Rocky. See, he prepared for something long before he needed it. He prepared for something. And if he wouldn't have done that, he wouldn't have been able to write that. And what did Julian write here real quick? I needed this today. Steady progress over an extended period of time leads to greatness. Victory loves preparation. Yeah, man. It's first of all, I'm glad you needed this today. I think we need this every day, including myself. And yes, steady progress over an extended period of time. True progress is not seen on a day-to-day basis, my friends. It's only seen and noticed and recognized when you are at a point and you look back and you see where you started. Right? We don't see the changes on a daily basis. It's impossible. That's one of the things about being a human is we don't see it on a day-to-day basis. But when you make a significant amount of progress over an extended period of time, it's like, whoa, life has really, really changed. So the next one we have here, the I of champion. Sorry, let me get back to my slide. Where'd it go? Give me one second. Well, I just know by heart. It's integrity. So the I of champions is integrity. And what integrity pretty much means, my friends, it's the most generic version of it is this. Can you do the right thing even when no one's watching? Can you do what you know you're supposed to do even when no one is watching? Or as soon as the doors are closed, as soon as you're behind closed doors, as soon as the world is turning away, you go back to your comfort zone, you go back to laziness, you go back to cutting corners, you go back to all that kind of stuff. If that's the case, yeah, Sarah, I just know by heart. This is I was actually going through something. So she just quoted something I said. The other day I was going through some type of a conversation with people that needed to question me about some things. And they asked me, they said, in preparation for this, did you actually have to study anything or learn anything? And I said, hey man, you actually don't have to learn anything if you know it by heart. You just tell the truth. And yeah, so I've done this talk so many times, therapists, that I really don't need to be looking at my own slides. If anything, it's distracting for me. It slows me down. So I will do this by heart. But the I is integrity. And there's this thing that people always glamorize this thing called the overnight success. They love seeing someone, oh, where did this person come from? Just popped up out of nowhere. As if it's like some magical fairy dust got poured on a human being and they became this version of themselves. But there is no such thing as an overnight success. No such thing as an overnight success. There just isn't. What there is 10 years of grinding and hustling and working hard and commitment and dealing with failures and setbacks over and over and over and over and over again until that person becomes an overnight success. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success, my friends. 10 years at the minimum. I know when I got sober, no college education, no degree. Like right now, some people would consider me successful in my little world, right? And they're like, oh, it's so cool. He's so successful. I want to do that. Well, when I started this journey, I was 25 years old with no college education. I was struggling with drugs and alcohol. I had no work history or experience. I got fired from my first job after I got sober. I started working in like vitamin shops and GNCs as a 26-year-old because I couldn't work anywhere else. I started going back to college, later on. And I'm like, what am I doing in college? All my friends are graduating. They're getting condos and houses. They're going to steakhouses. And I'm just getting by with like top ramen soup and living with roommates and stuff like that. And we're just getting by. And I'm going to school. I'm doing all-nighters. I'm going to grad school at this point. I'm working at DUI schools, making next to nothing, doing counseling with people that don't want to be there. And then I'm working as a counselor and I'm working as a counselor. I'm getting more education. I'm grinding. I'm struggling. I'm hustling. I'm dying of hard work. Right. And it gets to the point that I get to where I am in life and they say, oh man, that's so cool. I want to do that one day. It's like, he's young. It just happens like that in sobriety. No, it doesn't, man. Do you have integrity when no one's watching when it comes to hard work? Like, do you still grind? And was I perfect through that process? Hell no, absolutely not. I made a lot of mistakes, but did I continue having integrity to the outcome that I wanted? Absolutely. So the public always praises us for the work we do in private. The public will pat you on the back for who you are in private. You just don't correlate those two things together. The O of champions is ownership. It's your life. It's your journey. Take ownership of it. See, I did this talk earlier this morning for our program participants, and some of them were listening, and some of them were kind of like on their phones, and some of them were, just talking to each other, and the thing was mute. And no matter where they were today, I told them, hey, it's absolutely cool, whatever you're doing, because some people take ownership of the moment and they say, how can I improve? Some people let the moment go by and the moment takes ownership of them. And yes, by the way, moments can take ownership of us. We can become slaves to things that we don't even know we're slaves of, right? And some people were somewhere in between, and that's okay. But if you want to achieve success in your recovery, if you want to gain control of your mental health, if you want to succeed in life, you know what you got to do? You got to take ownership of it. It's your life. No one else cares about it, by the way. Yeah, there might be like a few people, a mom, a dad, a grandma, a sibling, someone that's related to you by blood and they really, really care about you, I'll give you that. And there might be a couple of friends you've met, but out of the 8 billion people in the world, man, no one cares. And if you don't care, then you're really at a position that you're not going to be able to achieve. And there's one thing here with ownership is this: for whatever reason, we have this entitlement problem in society that people all want an above average lifestyle and an above average paycheck with a below average work ethic and a below average lifestyle. You see, that doesn't translate in life. It's just like that oven analogy I was telling you. You can't put crap ingredients in the oven and expect to have a beautiful cake. You can't have a poor work ethic in life and expect to have success. I mean, that's just straight delusion. Delusion. So the N of champions is nutrition. So it's like, oh, Parham's going to talk and he's not going to talk about nutrition. Oh, yes, I am. Because when you put clean nutrition into your mind, into your body and body will produce efficiently and effectively. And I'm not saying a certain type of look your body has to have. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm talking about, are you healthy? Is your physical body healthy? The physical body is healthy from a few things, right? What you consume on a day-to-day basis and how you move your body. So if you don't consume foods that are good for you and you don't move your body, you're not going to be healthy. There's no like rocket scientist to this. So they say like, hey, eat an apple a day or walk around the block every day. And they say those things are easy to do, aren't they? How hard is it to eat well and move your body around a block a few times? Really easy. But the thing about human beings is this: if something's easy to do, it's also easy not to do. And again, we have choices in life, my friends. We always have choices. So in life, you are free to take the choices that you want to take. However, you are not free from the consequences of those choices. So you can eat whatever the hell you want to eat in life. It's none of my business. Your life, take ownership of it. You can eat whatever you want to eat in life. But if those things you eat clog your arteries, if those things you eat give you risk for diabetes, if those things you eat increase your cholesterol, you are not free from cardiovascular disease. You are not free from high cholesterol. You are not free from type 2 diabetes. It's a choice, and some people say, you know what, I'm only here for a certain amount of years and I'm going to eat what I want to eat and enjoy the life I want to enjoy. And if my time comes early, my time comes early. And that the beauty of that is that's a choice too. And you got to say, do I want that or do I not? Do I want to live with mental and physical health for as long as I can to be there for others and contribute to this world and all that kind of stuff? If that's what you want to do, you got to watch the nutrition that goes into your body. It's it doesn't take a rocket scientist or some guy dressed up in his living room to tell you that one. The next one that I have here is the S. So the S, the last one, the S of champions, is this thing called sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice who and what you are today for who and what you want to be tomorrow? Are you willing to make that sacrifice? A lot of people are not. It's I told the program participants this morning that in order to cross the ocean, you got to lose sight of the shore. And you know what the shore is? The shore represents where you are today. The shore represents who you are today. It's what's familiar to you. It's comfortable. And some of your shores are not ideal places to live in, but it's what you know. And sometimes in life, we take the risk to put our feet in the water, to go down to the knees, go down to the waist, go down to the head, and start swimming in this ocean of unknown, the ocean of uncertainty. It's scary. It's cold, right? You don't know where it's going. You don't know how deep it is. You don't know what's inside. And you start swimming. And as you're swimming, you keep looking back to the shore where you came from. And the further you get, the more your heart's beating. And you know what most people do? When they start to lose sight of that shore, they say it's too much and they swim as fast as they can right back to where they came from. Because at least over there, they have a sense of comfort. At least over there, it's safe. But the only way you're ever going to be able to experience a new world, a new life, a new existence is by losing sight of that shore. and just swimming. Because guess what? The more you swim, the stronger you become, the more confident you become, the more confidence you have in self, and you'll find a new land. How do I know that? Because whoever's found a new version of life can tell you the same thing happened to them. I don't care what field we're talking about here. They lost sight of the shore. And when you finally get there, you realize that it was worth it. But you know what people do? People are afraid of taking risks. People go through this whole life thing so cautious, so afraid. And I'm going to give you a news flash right now. Okay. You don't got to play it so safe so much. You don't got to be afraid of taking risks. None of us, the few people watching this, the few people that'll watch this later, and everyone else in life are ever going to get out of this thing alive. None of us are getting out of this thing called life alive. So why not lose sight of the freaking shore and see what's on the other side? Why not go explore something different despite of fear, despite of anxiety, despite of the unknown? Why not? Give me an answer. Why not? And so this crown of champions, as you can see, as you can tell, hopefully, it doesn't just apply to student athletes on a basketball court. This applies to all of us, including myself. And my hope is that it was good. Next week we're doing something. I'm going to do a talk more on the Halloween type thing and the different masks we wear, not just on Halloween. It's one of my favorite talks. But I love and appreciate all of you for watching. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. If there's any topic you want, any conversation you want, let me know. I'll gladly do it. And I'll continue showing up here every single Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with the intention of providing some education, with the goal, ultimate goal of helping people transform their lives and their circumstances they're in. So that's really cool. And by the way, this is, I want something here. For example, Eileen said something. She said this is the second time she's heard this presentation. So I've shared this one before. It was a while ago, but I shared this one before. And she says it's just as powerful, even more so the second time around. So I'll tell you this, Eileen. There is something about you that I want you to hear right now. That there's been a shift in you, and I don't know you or anything like that. Eileen just follows this on a week-to-week basis, but I've never had the privilege of meeting her. I've talked to her on the phone maybe one time. But the only reason this talk sounded different to you this time around is because you're not the same person you were the first time you heard it. Okay, you're not the same person you were the first time you heard it. And if I ever do this talk, and I've had people give me feedback, they say this exact same thing. You ready? They say, oh, this was good. I've heard it before. And you want to know why they heard the exact same talk? It wasn't because it was the exact same talk. It was because they're the exact same person. And the beauty of these kind of things is, that you're growing as a human being if every time you hear the same talk, you gain a new experience from it. You know that you created that. Because I teach the same way so passionately every single time, and there's nothing different about the way I present things. Actually, this morning I was 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I was getting ready to do this talk with our program participants. I had the doors open because it was raining. It felt nice. And I'm pumped in the living room. I'm talking way louder than this. And all of a sudden one of the neighbors goes, shut the F up. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, man. Well, I got to check myself here real quick. But it's, I started getting yelled at by the neighbors. But if there's one person watching, I talk the same way. If there's 100 people watching, I talk the same way. And if there's 500 people talking, I talk the same way. So Eileen, I just want to take a second for you to know that the only reason this sounded different is because you've grown on whatever levels you've grown at, personally, professionally, emotionally. So kudos to you, and thank you for that feedback. Everyone else, Debbie, welcome. Mom, great. Faye, she doesn't have a picture up here. I should just hack into her Facebook since I have her password and put a picture over there so everyone could see her. Great talk. Thank you. I appreciate it. And everyone else that didn't comment, love and appreciate all of you. I will see you back same place, same time next week for a talk on Halloween. All right, everyone. Have a great one.